Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to tackle the physical and sexual self. I am Jennifer Maturgina and we are the group one.
Is it better this way or that way? It's horrible whichever way. It's not really respectable, really, to feel frustrated with one's appearance. Mature and reasonable people are not supposed to go around regretting the shape of their nose or the way their hair falls. Yet, you gaze in the bathroom mirror and think, why? In my brief existence in this world, does this have to be me? For those unhappy with their looks, pictures are painful. Each new image brings more bad news. Yet, this isn't crazy. We care about our looks for a sound reason, because everyone judges us by them. Because they determine the first response. To deal with the challenges of our appearance, we need to develop a particular kind of wisdom. Here is a start to learning how to cope with one's looks. Personal appearance is one of the least democratic parts of life. It's a lottery and you haven't won. It's nothing to do with you, nor is it to their credit that is it them. It just is. A bold man would appreciate your hair like no one else will. It's the ugly who are at the best place to appreciate beauty. Something the beautiful should bear in mind when they're considering on who bestow their favors. People learn about love from their parents, and when they grown up, often search for lovers who remind them a little in some subconscious way of mom or dad. The good news is that often mom or dad were quite weird or ugly looking. That help explain the odd choices good-looking people sometimes make. Thank God for ugly parents. The world is dominated by an often unfair money hierarchy. Against that, it's refreshing that there's also this strange look hierarchy. It doesn't restore justice, but it thumbs its nose up at other forms of injustice just a little. However unfair the distribution of appearance is today, time will eventually bring justice. No one ends up happy with how they look. It's just a question of waiting. For some, this enchantment may start at 10. For others, it may take another 40 years. But it will happen for sure. Rather than saying appearance doesn't matter, you can get better noticing the less obvious but still real beauty in other places. The trouble with our culture isn't so much that we love appearances, but that we focus on too narrow range of features and qualities. So start to get interested in someone's august forehead. Note the melancholy sweetness of their eyes. Admire an expression of kindly acceptance. Point out serenity, a trusting face, a candid nose. There are so many good and attractive things we can see in people's faces. If we're alert to different beauty types of beauty, and hopefully someone, somewhere, will one day do the same for us.
Today, I will briefly explain the physical self and I will try my very best to summarize it. So in this unit, factors that shapes one's physical self, including biological and environmental factors, will be discussed. Kasi when we say physical self, the first thing that comes into our mind usually is one's face, bodily structure, height, weight, fitness, and etc. But no, the physical self is far beyond that. More than the physical attributes a person possesses, people should also consider their physical competencies, their valuation of physical worth, and perception of beauty. Sometimes when we look into our mirror or sometimes when we talk to ourselves, we tend to ask these questions such as, am I beautiful? Am I enough? Do people find me attractive? What can I do to enhance my features? However, these questions are often referred to our physical appearances, what we see in the mirror or what we see by our naked eye. However, our physical self is not only limited to what we can directly see by the naked eye. Why? Hindi ka kasi magkakaroon ng brown eyes, curly hair, tan skin, out of nowhere. meron talaga yung dahilan at meron talaga yung pinanggalingan. Because underneath our skin is a dynamic system of biological and chemical processes that contribute to our physical feature. So, here, the philosophical statement, what is essential is invisible to the eye. The shape of our bodies, our height, weight, skin color, hair color, and other physical characteristics do not just develop at random. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina na meron talaga yung pinanggalingan. Hindi siya lumalabas out of nowhere. And these are triggered by genetic transformation and biological development, which are embodied in the concept of heredity. Dito na pumapasok yung heredity. During our high school years or senior high school years, na tatakil na to natin itong heredity. So, ano ba talaga kasi itong heredity? Simple, the passing of genetic traits from parent to offspring or to children. It is not surprising that we have inherited our physical trait from both our parents. When you look at the mirror, who do you think resemble more, your father or your mother? For example, sa akin, mas kamukha ko yung papa ko, pero hindi ibig sabihin na wala akong nakuha na trait or characteristic sa mama ko. Aside dun sa pagkakaroon ng physical features, pwede ding nakukuha ko yung characteristic ng mama ko, kagaya ng pagiging masungit or mainitin ng ulo. Pwede yung nakuha ko yun sa side ng mother ko. Also, kahit magkamukha kami ng papa ko, there are some traits or there is still some portion na nakuha sa mama ko, kagaya ng pagkakaroon ng wide forehead, ganun. Here in genotype and phenotype. Genotype refers to the specific information embedded within our genes. Not all genotypes translate to an observed physical characteristics. On the other hand, phenotype is the physical expression of a particular trait. Genotype can only be determined through blood testing, but one's phenotype can be directly observed. For example, a man who has white skin and a woman who has a brown skin produce a brown-skinned offspring. Kung sa ating perception lang o perspective, ang naiisip ka natin is yung sa mother lang na brown skin yung nakuha niya at hindi niya na-inherit yung sa white skin na nanggaling sa papa niya. However, a close examination of his genotype may reveal that he also inherited the gene for white skin from his dad. Pero bakit ganon yung lumalabas lang is yung brown skin? This is attributed to the concept of dominant and recessive genes. Yung brown skin na nakuha niya sa mama niya is the dominant gene, kaya yun yung lumalabas sa skin niya. While yung white skin na galing sa dad niya is the recessive gene, kaya hindi siya masyadong lumalabas. However, if he marries and his spouse has a recessive gene for white skin, their offspring may have white skin pa din. Kahit both recessive siya, magkakaroon pa rin ng white skin yung anak nila. Kasi dominant and recessive genes are dependent on alleles, which are alternate versions of a particular gene. Since human cells carry 2 copies of chromosomes, they have 2 versions each gene. Each individual carries 23 pair of chromosomes, thread-like bodies in the nucleus of the cell, and a storage unit of genes. The 23rd pair, also known as sex chromosomes, yun yung magdedetermine ng sex or kasarian ng bata, kung magiging lalaki ba siya or magiging babae. Kapag X and X, female yung lalabas. Kapag naman X and Y, lalaki yung lalabas. Within each chromosome is a deoxyribonucleic acid or the DNA, which is a nucleic acid that contains the genetic instructions specifying the unique blueprint of an individual's physical features. Kaya lahat tayo unique kasi wala talagang individual na merong exact copy or the same DNA. Kaya ginagamit din yung DNA kapag may mga crime situation kasi dadalhin ka talaga sa isang tao, wala siyang kaparehong DNA. These cellular components trigger the physical growth and maturation that our bodies go through. Ito yung pag-increase ng cell numbers by repeated cell division. Also, maturation is known as the completion of genetic characters within organism. Ito yung paglabas na ng mga na-inherit nating traits or potential. Maturation also enables us to walk, run, talk, and eventually result in physical changes that are evident in the adolescent stage. Kaya nga, nothing stays the same, even our body. Kaya nga meron tayong adolescent stage, young adult, and older ones. Yan, nagkakaroon ng changes sa ating body. Yun ay tinatawag na maturation. So, next is, aside from our genetic informations, there is also another factor that influences our physical self, and that is the environmental conditioning. We are exposed to environmental influences that shape our physical self, including those from our social networks, societal expectations, and cultural practices. Ito yung mga family or being in a group. Ito yung nag-nurture sa atin as a human being. So, saan ba yan nagsisimula lahat? Siyempre, sa family, because it is our first social group na kinabibilangan natin, and it plays a big role sa kung ano man tayo ngayon, including na dyan yung ating physical self. Kasi, kunyari sa pamilya natin, sinasanay na tayo, mga bata pa lang tayo na kumain ng healthy foods, kaya nadadala natin yan sa paglaki natin. Napapansin nyo yung mga ayaw kumain ng gulay, nagsastart yan sa pagkabata nila kapag nasasanay kasi sila na hindi kumakain ng mga healthy foods o kaya yung mga processed food yung hinahanda sa kanila. Kaya, sa family din nagsastart kung paano natin alagaan yung sarili natin. Kagaya ng sa family namin, sinasanay kami mga bata pa na gumising ng maaga, mag-exercise, pero hindi na masyado ngayon. So, ayun. All these influences, whether it is genetic information or environmental conditioning, brought us to where we are today. Sa kung ano man tayo ngayon. Pero, there's nothing wrong naman kung gusto pa nating i-enhance yung sarili natin. Huwag lang nating kalilimutan na huwag tayong mag-focus masyado sa physical na kagandahan o yung sa panlabas na kagandahan lang. Tapos kalimutan natin yung lahat. Kagaya ng sa mga model, sinasabi nila unearthly yung ganda nila, pero they are forced to have extreme diet. Hindi na sila masyadong kumakain kasi they wanted to fit to the beauty standard of being a model. And yun, napupuno sila ng pressure, nagkakos ng depression, nagiging insecure sila sa sarili nila, and hindi na naging healthy yung mind nila as well as their health. So, how do we take care of ourselves and our body? Itong tips. Healthy eating. Given na yan, kailangan natin ng right combination of food to ensure health and sustenance. Having the right diet will result in healthy skin, ideal weight, and better stamina. Understandable naman po yun siguro. And number 2, embracing a healthy lifestyle. Avoiding drinking, smoking, and other unhealthy habits. Okay lang naman siguro kumain ng isaw, paminsan-minsan lang, pero not too much. Kasi nga, yung masarap yung bawal, pero wag naman tayo magpasobra. Kailangan natin i-balance. And also, avoiding those will reduce the risk of illness and diseases and make your immune system stronger. Physical activities such as walking, running, going to the gym, and sports would also contribute to a healthier body. However, due to pandemic, mahirapan tayong lumabas-labas, kaya tiis-tiis muna tayo sa mga indoor na activity, maging innovative tayo, maging creative. Yun. Number 3 is having the right hygiene. Taking care of our body by maintaining a hygiene regimen can also help in making us feel good about ourselves. Gaya ng pagtututbrush. Diba mas maganda naman mag-smile kapag walang mga tinga-tinga sa ngipin. So, ayun. Number 4, confidence in ourselves is our best makeup. Being secure in ourselves, embracing a positive outlook toward various situations and problems, and loving and accepting who we are will surely result in an optimal physical well-being. Yung kapag kontento tayo sa kung ano tayo, na hindi na natin kinukompare yung sarili natin sa iba, doon makakamit natin yung true happiness. Yun, natatanggal yung negative yung naiinggit ka sa iba, kasi kontento ka na nga sa sarili mo. That is having a positive mind. It will also enhance your physical health being.
Thank you, Jennifer, for your wonderful explanation about physical self. So let's proceed to the sexual self. Before we go on to our next topic, Let's play a scramble word game. You only have 5 seconds to answer, so let's begin.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So let's proceed to our topic. Sexuality is experience from our childhood to old age. It is means by our body, rules in life, our beliefs, and of course experiences through relationships. Sexuality is something in the nature and nurture. We go a lot of experimentation to understand and verify our sexuality. And because of this, there are some who has high risk-taking behaviors, sexual concepts. I will just tackle it briefly because this will be mentioned later, so keep listening. Number one is gender identity, which means it is in the mind. Number 2, sexual orientation. This means to whom are you sexually attracted. Number 3, gender expression. Explain how you move and what you wear. Number 4, biological sex. It depends on our hormones and genitalia. All of that will be tackled, so yeah, keep listening. Sexual orientation, just like what I said earlier, this means to whom are you sexually attracted. A person's sexuality or a sexual orientation determines whom they do or do not feel attraction toward. Sexual orientation may include attraction to the same gender, which what they call homosexuality. A gender different than your own, which is called heterosexuality. Attraction to both men and women, called bisexuality. Attractions to all gender, called pansexual. Or neither is called asexuality. How do people find out their sexual orientation? So, many people first become aware of their orientation during the preteen and teen years. It's common to experience one's first romantic feelings in early puberty by having a crush on someone at school. During the teen years, crushes on someone of the same gender are common. Some teens may experiment sexually with someone of their own gender. These early experiences don't necessarily mean a teen will be attracted to the same gender as an adult. For some teens, attraction to someone of the same gender do not fade. They grow stronger. Various experiences. Number 1. This means that clothing and gestures may not show the gender of a person. Among the lesbians, there are those who are more masculine in actions and clothing, and there are those who are feminine but are attracted to the same sex. Among the gay men, there are some those who are feminine and there are those who are masculine. Among the gay and lesbian couples, it is necessary that one should take the wife rule and the husband rule. Like diba, when you saw a same-sex couple, in my experience, they would always ask, sino ang top and bottom sa relationship niya. So, a top in a relationship is typically the more dominant one. These women are typically on the more masculine side of the spectrum. But this is definitely not the rule. So, a bottom is usually the more submissive one or the feminine in the relationship. So, next is number 2, everybody desires to be happy. Regardless of sexual orientation and gender identity, everybody wants to be happy. Happiness in relationship like having good relations and loving each other. Good relationships don't just happen. They take time, patience, and two people who truly want to be together. And there are people who find happiness in physical, sexual relationship like there's a lot, satisfaction, orgasm, but free from diseases like sexually transmitted diseases and HIV/AIDS. For other people, happiness means acceptance and respect from the society and living a productive life in industry, life direction, and contribution to the society. And there are 4 areas of sexuality. 1 is physical, 2 emotional, 3 psychological, and 4 spiritual. And these are all interconnected. To prevent, to avoid, and to fight against discrimination, we must keep from a fight against treating a person as a sex object. There should be a zero tolerance against sex discrimination and sex abuse. There are different forms of discrimination and abuse according to gender, like demeaning behavior, ignoring the existence, slurs and jokes, whistling, green jokes, discrimination in the workplace, insults, causing physical injury, rape, and molestation. Therefore, everyone must uphold the care for the whole person. So, why are women and girls so often the victims of violence? Unfortunately, there is no single answer to that question. However, when women and girls are repeatedly objectified and their bodies hypersexualized, the media contributes to the harmful gender stereotypes that often trivialize violence against girls. These stereotypes are not only harmful for girls, but for boys as well. Boys see how their bodies are portrayed in relation to girls and internalize the notion that success and attractiveness are tied to dominance, power, and aggression. So this is the huge problem because when it comes to dating violence, domestic violence, rape on campus, and sex trafficking, victims are often overlooked unless they come forward and report that they have been assaulted and exploited. Remember that every 10 minutes, somewhere in the world, an adolescent girl dies as a result of violence. Nearly 1 in 5 girls is sexually abused at least once in her life. Everyone, especially boys, should keep in their minds that women are to be valued for so much more than their sexuality. We aren't just an objects to desire.
The body sexual and the self. Focus on the body. When you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see in it? There are people who give so much importance to their face, their appearance, body form, and strength, especially among young single men and women. Only a few could be satisfied with the shape and condition of their body. Future these states set their tone for the gender of one's sexuality, her or his thought and behavior in order to make responsible choice considering one's sexual self. Vital aspect of one's identity is the sexual, encompassing biological, physical, emotion, and social domain. While it is initially rooted in the distinguished physical attributes found in a man's penis and woman's vagina, bodily transformation and development of secondary sexual characteristics during adolescence could eventually trigger psychological response, leading to the belief and behavior associated with sex during the adolescent stage. Sex curiosity is often it is peak with adolescents engaging and sexual activity as a result of biological and social cultural force at work. This statement, ang sexualidad ay magkakaiba at mayroong maraming iba't ibang uri. Pero ito'y mahalaga. Kung sino ka man, walang tama o mali. Ito ay tungkol sa kung ano ang tama para sa'yo. Biological of sex. At birth, sex is a biological feature that distinguishes male from females. Aside from the external genitals, penis from males and vagina for females. There are observable changes in the woman body that begin during puberty and adolescence. Known as secondary sexual characteristic for males, this could include outgrowth, facial and bodily hair, the emerging Adam's apple deepening of voice, and muscle development. Moreover, here in the Philippines, the practice of circumcision is considered a rite of passage to adulthood among young men for females. The onset of menarche, first menstruation, and noticeable in the hips, breast, and skin. Underly sexual changes during the development stage. Aside from this, observable changes in the male and females. Release of hormones triggered psychological change in the productive system. Thus, this stage, females are capable of producing sperm while females begin producing eggs. Sa mga tao, ang biological sex ay tinutukoy ng 5 naroroon sa kapanganakan: chromosomes, gonads, hormones, internal reproductive autonomy or external genitalia. Ang kasarian ay nahati sa lalaki, babae, or intersex. The Physiology of Sex, Master and Son, June 1966, described the woman's sexual response cycle as consisting of 4 phases. The 4 phases, the first one is excitement. Genital become engorged with blood, vagina expands, secretes, lubricants, penis enlarged. The seconds, play 2. Excitement peaks such as breathing pulse and blood pressure. The third, orgasms contracting all over the body increase and breathing pulse and blood pressure, sex release. The fourth, resolutions, engaged genital release blood, male goes through reproductory phase, woman resolves slower. When physiological changes are triggered within individual's reproductive system, an adolescent is likely to experience sexual urges, become more sensitive to sexual stimuli, and feel sexual urges, become more sensitive to sexual stimuli, and feel sexual arousal. During adolescent stage, it is common occurrence to watch and read pornographic materials, engage in kissing and feeding, and perform masturbation, the act of stimulating one's genitals for a sexual pleasure. Medical professionals have cited the health benefits of masturbation include self-relief and better sleep, improved self-esteem, and enhanced body image. Future masturbation is better alternative to sexual intercourse which may result to unwanted pregnancy and occurring sexually transmitted disease. Individual reproductive system triggered because of physiological genes. Adolescents become more sensitive to sexual stimuli and feel sexual arousal. In men, they have experienced erection during adolescence. While for the woman vagina, lubrication future more men could experience ejaculations while women could reach orgasms. These tensions are normal, typical in any sexual activity and part of sexual response circle which include four phases, excitements, pleasure, organs, and resolutions. Completing the circle could lead it to watch and read pornographic materials. Kissing and pleasing and perform masturbation during adolescent stage, stress, repair, better sleep, and body image. And occurring sexually transmitted disease are benefits of masturbation sites from medical professional. To include adolescents should be aware of one's sexuality and sexual attribute in order to make responsible decisions and occurring sexual transmitted disease. Identity and gender orientation under our concept of self, we express our sexuality, truth, individuality, our belief and behavioral lifestyle are based on our own perception of sexuality. However, while gender orientation and sexual identity are meant to be social construct, it is important to highlight our self-expression and moreover become responsible in doing so. This will be translated to our belief about sex, gender, and behavior. We should take note that our behavior in various situations could entail consequence. We need to realize what the affect our such action and how we can translate our own behavior including our sex behavior. Meron tayo ditong gender identity, gender expression, sex assigned at birth, physical attractive, and emotional attractive. Ang sexual na pagkakakilanlan kung paano iniisip ng isa ang sarili. Kung paano ang isa ay romantically o sexual na naaakit tumutukoy sa mga taong kabaliktaran sa kasarian o sa kaparehong kasarian o higit sa isang kasarian.
Now, let's talk about the consequences of sexual choice. Sexual intercourse, also known as copulation, which happens when a man's reproductive organ enters the woman's reproductive tract. Many teenagers nowadays engage themselves in this kind of thing without knowing the possible consequences or the result of their action. Some of the consequences are teenage pregnancy or acquiring viruses such as the human immunodeficiency virus or HIV that may also lead to much worse acquired immunodeficiency syndrome or AIDS. I personally know some people that have faced some of these consequences of having sexual intercourse with their partners. There are some that got pregnant, have experienced miscarriage due to emotional stress they've been receiving from people who couldn't understand. And some were lucky they got married with their partner after being aware of the pregnancy. But despite of this possible consequences, many teenagers still engage themselves in this sexual behavior. Thus, I'd like to emphasize that as an adolescent, we should learn to make responsible decisions and should start in respect for one's body. Women and men should know their worth, respect your body. Don't rationalize the act by claiming that if you love each other, you should do the intercourse. That is not correct. Respect your body and don't settle for this kind of immaturity. Maturity in thoughts and deeds. As I said earlier, rationalizing the idea of sexual intercourse as a way of proving their love for each other is a mistake. Be matured enough. Hindi sukatan ng pagmamahalan nyo ng jowa mo ang pag-iipagtalik kung di kayo kasal or kung hindi pa kayo handang dalawa sa posibleng mabuo dahil sa ginawa nyo.
Being guided by one's personal beliefs and core values means that guide you in your daily life and are linked very closely to your morals and values. Next, being future-oriented. Thinking about the future helps us plan in order to avoid mistakes. It also gives us an opportunity to dream, to have goals, and grow as humans. The obsession to have beautiful face and body. As you can see, one of the example of the obsession to have a beautiful face is Michael Jackson, who take a surgery to make him good looking and ayusin yung gusto niyang baguhin sa mukha niya at nakikita niyo naman kung gaano kalaki yung pinagbago. Mostly nangyayari or ginagawa ito ng mga celebrities or artista kasi nga they are obsessed to have a beautiful face or body kasi karamihan sa kanila ginagawa nila ito. Next, the demand for cosmetic surgery, skin whiteners, and etc. In our generation today, ang daming nagsusulputang beauty products and other ways para gumanda lalo ang physical appearance ng isang tao. Yung iba pa nga, technologies na ang gamit. But, be careful guys. Kasi kung gaano karami yung lumalabas na products and cosmetic surgery, ganon din karami ang mga scammers and fake products. Have you seen or heard the news that there is a lot of scammers that selling a fake beauty products? Para lang kumita, kesyo daw mura at gaganda ka na. It's okay naman na gumamit ka ng beauty products but make sure na safe ito. But guys, remember you are beautiful in your own ways. You have to be contented for what you have and be proud for who you are. Yung ganda, kumukupas din yan. Pero yung pagpapakatotoo mo sa sarili mo, dyan mo malalaman kung sino talaga yung tunay na nagmamahal sa'yo. Okay, next. Eating disorders such as anorexia nervosa and bulimia. Anorexia nervosa is a complex condition. The main sign is significant weight loss or low body weight. Ito yung walang gana kumain or kumakain naman pero konti lang ang nauubos, which is nagkukos ng pagbaba ng timbang. Next is malnutrition among young women due to improper way of dieting. One of the reasons of malnutrition is improper way of dieting. If you are malnutrition, you have to do dietary change, such as eating food high in energy and nutrients. Hindi yung basta-basta ka na lang magda-diet. May proper way yan na dapat mong sundin para maging healthy yung pagda-diet mo. The golden ratio or the perfect face. It's rather impossible to achieve the golden ratio but people still vie for it. They are attracted to more nice, more pretty, more beautiful, much better na mukha kumpara sa madalas nilang makita sa bahay or their family members. So, pag nasa ibang lugar sila, they are easily attracted sa mga mas magaganda or gwapo in line to achieve the perfect ratio. Some people are sexually attracted or having sexual relationships sa mga may lahi. Next is beauty is in the eyes of beholder, which means beauty doesn't exist on its own but is created by observers. All of us have our own different perceptions about beauty that we should respect each other's opinions because not all people have the same opinions as to what is attractive or beautiful. Next is body art and status symbol. Dito na yung nagpapatattoo or piercing and nakikita na naman sa picture, diba? So, yung iba is based on their culture and yung iba naman is bawal sa kanila yung magpatattoo. For example, sa mga Muslims, bawal sa kanila yan. And may mga symbol, bawat tattoo na nilalagay nila, hindi lang basta tattoo lang. Also, piercing, marami din gumagawa nito and nagpapalagay. It's attractive for them.